Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Real Steel Vena, or Vena, like it could be Vena. I'll just show you the box, right? I actually don't know exactly how they want me to pronounce it. That doesn't really matter, not as much as the construction of this. This is a G10 integral, meaning not two pieces. We have one solid piece of G10 for the frame. That makes this fairly unique in the knife world. We only have, I can think of the one Kaiser did. I can think of the one that Reich did. And that's it. I'm sure that there are others, but it is very rare for a pocket knife to be constructed in integral form out of G10. We usually see that in titanium, but that's really cool. The other cool thing about this knife is, and by the way, it's a combination of Nitro V and G10. It is $85. Obviously, a G10 integral is going to cost more than two pieces of G10, but I find that to be very competitive. The most competitive G10 integral out there is the one that Kaiser made, or at least up to this point. And I think that one still came in at $90. I thought that was a really good deal. This one's an even better deal. So it is available right now in both black and green. I will have it linked down in the description. Thanks to Real Steel for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. It's not a full-size knife, but it's not a tiny knife either. It comes in at 7.5 inches. Blade length is coming in at about 3.3. 3.3. Cutting edge is about 3 1/8. Let's do some size comparisons. Any custom skills you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. Up against my full-size and compact Excalibur, you can see here it's exactly the same overall length as the compact Excalibur. Let's put it up against the Spyderco P. We are not centered, are we? Up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Very similar to the overall size of the Para 3. It's a little slimmer. And then finally up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this knife? It's good. We have very high tension Omega springs, and if you're wondering how did they do the construction with the crossbar lock, we will talk about that here in a moment, but it has very high tension Omega springs, and this makes it very easy to manipulate, even with this opening slot thing here being so narrow. It's actually very easy to wheel out and reverse flick, given the fact that those high tension Omega springs really allow you to kind of snap it out. So actually pretty darn good. The bearing action is fine, but man, is it noisy. Here, listen to this. What the heck? It's like somebody shaking a gumball machine. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if the bearing cages have like play in them or whatever. The blade itself locks out completely and totally solid, but maybe it's just this one. It is noisy when you, I don't feel them. Like pulling this back, it's just like, it's not like there's lumps or bumps or anything in here. It's just, I think the bearings in their cages are kind of like wobbling around a little bit. So a little bit of a metallic noise there. Otherwise good. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It is actually almost exactly the same thickness. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a very easy knife to pocket and carry. It is super compact. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness, since this thing is right here and I don't want to lose it. Blade stock thickness coming in at 117 thousandths. We'll weigh it. What do we got for materials? Obviously G10. Steel for the internal, the parts that house the crossbar lock. And then we have Nitro V, which, by the way, Real Steel has listings for their Nitro V, hardness ranging anywhere from 58 to 61. I looked at a bunch of different listings for Real Steel knives in Nitro V, so apparently that is their range. At least that's their advertised range. At some point, I think Taylor will have sufficient data on this. Taylor is the gentleman who's usually right there towards the top of most of my comment sections, talking about the HRC hardness from his testing results. So if you want to visit his website, it is linked at the very bottom of my description, the last clickable link there. 2.6 ounces, making this very impressive. A 3 point, I think, what did I measure it at? 3.3 inches of blade, and with an integral frame. That makes it ultra lightweight, and it's still not a tiny knife, right? We have a one-piece solid frame. I think that's pretty cool, even if it is just G10, G10 being a lightweight material anyway. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. So it's interesting here. I just noticed these screws actually go all the way. I've never seen this before. The pocket clip screws are threaded all the way through into the pocket clip. Like, that's what's holding them on. That's kind of weird. So does the pocket clip itself have threads in it? Hold on. We got to get to the bottom of this mystery. That is just weird. What did I pull out here? Is this a that's a T6, so that means that this one's going to be a T7, and that definitely won't fit. No. So we're going to use, they are T6. It just felt like it had a little play there. So let's go ahead and pull that out. I am very curious about this. Okay, so that goes through like that. And then this one. Oh yeah, geez, it came flying off of there. So you have threads in you? What on earth? No. So, or is it just one thread? Yeah. Okay. Weird. All right. Why wouldn't we put the screws in this side and have them screw into, I guess, a thicker plate? I don't know. I've never seen that. I mean, it's not really, I wouldn't call it a problem. It's just weird. So anyways, let's see if we can put it back, and it still does the exact same thing, right? It is ambidextrous, right? That's good. We don't want, wait, did I just do that wrong? Oh yeah, I did. We have a symmetrical locking system, an ambidextrous locking system. So having ambidextrous mounting positions for the pocket clip also would make sense. Now, how are we? Oh, it's I mean, it's because of the tension from the pocket clip. So we're gonna have to do the back one first. Sorry, I know some people probably find this interesting and other people find it insanely boring, but I would like to know how easy it is to get the pocket clip back on. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that and really get it. It is holding on to the pocket clip. That is interesting. Okay, so now that's down enough that this will bite. Yeah. Okay, that did work. That's weird. It's just one thread in the pocket clip. That's weird. I've never seen that before. Okay. I don't know if I love that. I don't know how much I trust that. But then again, I mean, like, these pieces would be very easy to replace. I suppose it's no different than, like, your steel pocket clip gets bent out and you get sent another one. So anyways, the pivot is a T8, and this is the only other thing on the knife besides the crossbar pieces that can be taken out. You obviously can take the blade out, but what I'm saying is there's no body screws because this is an integral. So what they did is they took the housing for the crossbar lock, and you can see that there's these cutouts here, and they pushed it down inside there. So everything that's required for a crossbar lock is on the inside, and they push it down, and it just sort of nestles up again. It's just all milling internally to accept this crossbar lock housing. In order to pull that back out, I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but it is technically possible. You would need to take out the pivot, you'd need to take out the blade, and then you would need to take off the screws for the crossbar lock so that it can actually be pulled back out. And I suppose the only time you ever would do that is if the Omega springs broke and you need to replace them. Which is a possibility, right? I am still, in this, and I will be, until I actually start seeing it change more. Crossbar locks with Omega springs need to go away. Not, not like all at once, like delete them. They're all incredibly bad and there's no good one. No, I'm just saying we need to start slowly transitioning from Omega Springs to coil springs in crossbar locks. We have many different companies that have proven that it's possible. Benchmade has proven that it's possible with an integral frame, and other companies have proven that they can do it without getting, apparently, into copy trouble with Benchmade, because I believe that the lock on the Anthem is patented, but other companies are able to do this legally, so I would like to see everybody do it, right? But in the meantime, we still have Omega Springs, and sometimes Omega Springs will go for 10 years and not break, and sometimes they'll break on day one. So if this does break, you'll have to pull all of that out and then put the Omega Springs back in, which will probably be a little bit tricky, and then you have to shove, presumably, the entire thing back in there. So, but anyways, as long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Okay, we've weighted, we've done the measurements, all of that. Let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes. So this is actually a very ergonomically comfortable knife, and there actually is a decent amount of room right here in the choke up spot. I kind of wish that this was shaved down a little bit so that this transition here wasn't so dramatic. We have basically this big unusable bump right here that really could have been way less, and it would have given you more room for the choked up position, and it would have been more comfortable, but it's not bad as it is. The jimping is really good. This is a nice long, I'm going to call it like more of a trailing point, a spear point blade, right? Nitro V, I don't know where people are in their preferences. Like Nitro V is one of those steels that's like smack dab in the middle of budget and mid-range. You never see Nitro V on knives that cost like 40 or 50. Well, I guess sometimes you do. It is on the upper end of the budget steel in terms of what it costs. As far as how it performs, I feel like the balance is it's closer to 14C28N, but I think 14C28N still has that better balance of okay edge retention and exceptional toughness while still being stainless and easy to sharpen. I think the idea with Nitro V is something similar, but 14C28N does it better. That doesn't mean that Nitro V is a bad steel. It's still a good steel. It's just probably not the most optimal thing in class. And the downside is it tends to cost more than other budget steels, which, will push the price up, right? But still, that being said, they managed to put all of this together on an integral frame and make it in an incredibly competitive price. I mean, $85 is super competitive for what this is. Now, if you don't care about the integral frame of the nature that, or the nature of the frame, that's fine, but that doesn't change the fact that this does cost more than 2 pieces of G10, right? Fit and finish all the way around feels really good. Everything but those weird noisy bearings. That is the only thing there. Everything else is fine. I can't say that I have noticed that that's the case with other real steel knives. I don't know what it is about this one that makes it like that, but okay. Very lightweight, very compact, nice and reasonably thin behind the edge. Like that a lot. You can see the designer's logo right there. And it says Nitro V, and then on the other side it says Real Steel. So nothing too crazy going on there. Cutting bevel looks nice and even. I'll let you guys take a look at the plunge grind here. Your stop pin in the closed position is... Where are we? Is it actually... I think it actually is the... Yeah, you can see it right here. It is the crossbar lock. I guess that's usually the case with crossbar locks, isn't it? And it stops way back in here. So nowhere near the plunge grind. So that's good. Handle is nothing too crazy going on right here, just 2 little lines. That's fine. No crazy, meaningful traction or anything like that, but honestly, the lock-in feels pretty good. Your pocket clip is kind of stiff, but it's also got that upswept bill that will rise and ramp over most pocket seam thicknesses and materials, so that's fine. Like I said, ambidextrous mounting positions for the pocket clip, so that's good, given that this is equally utilized by right or left-handed people, both manipulating the lock and putting it in your pocket. So that's good. Open position stop pin is part of this sort of slip-in cage for the crossbar lock. So it probably is an individual piece, and it probably comes out if you want to pull it all the way up. I don't know why that even matters there, but you can see that is where the blade is stopping, right on that pin right there. There is no blade play up, down, left, to right. There's just a little tiny bit of crossbar lock stick, no big deal. No pivot lash. It is plenty smooth in here, just rattly bearings, and snap because of those high tension Omega springs. I really like that. and we have perfect centering. This is a nice little pocket knife, and it's cool that it's a G10 integral. Is it absolutely necessary? Do you gain any massive benefit from that? Not really. It's just neat, and you don't have to worry about handle screws falling out. You might have to worry about the pocket clip falling off, though. I don't know how much I love the single thread in the pocket. That's just kind of weird, you know? I can see what the dilemma was. You know, I just feel like what they probably should have done is milled out a thicker spot for a thicker filler tab. And then you should have put additional threads in the filler tab and had the screws go through the pocket clip side and thread in, I would say 3 times. You know, isn't that the rule? Like, you want 3 threads for it to hold? Right, 3 times. It seems like we've got 1 thread on both sides holding that in. I mean, it did go back together. It's just kind of like, it's kind of weird. In any case, this is a nice knife. This is a nice little pocket knife. It's neat that it's one piece of G10. You just don't see that. You don't see that like hardly ever. And I think the price tag is very reasonable. Honestly, $85 is pretty good. I wish they'd do something about the rattly bearings and, you know, the pocket clip, but outside of that, I think it's fine. Generally speaking, this is a recommendable pocket knife. I don't know anything about the HRC hardness. We have to wait and see after Taylor tests it, but, you know, his website is a work in progress. So hopefully in the future you hear me saying that, you know, hopefully, you know, Taylor tests it. You know, you'll hear me start saying that less, and you'll hear me, you know, more often saying according to Taylor's database. You know, these are the recent results from, you know, testing for this company. So if you are Real Steel, right, or any company for that matter, you should, it would be cool if you reached out to Taylor and offered to provide samples for testing, because this is greatly beneficial to the community. Not to find out, you know, or argue about what the optimal range is, but just for transparency, so we can find out factually how hard these steels are, you know, from whoever, right? Whoever's actually making the knives. It's better to see the numbers after tested than just reading numbers on a website or on a listing, right? So anyways, that's going to be it from me today, guys. Pretty cool. I love getting to see a G10 integral here or there. I wish we would see more carbon fiber integrals. That'd be really neat. That's going to be it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.